right. Good evening. Good evening, viewers. And once again, welcome to our show, 60 Minutes. And Zalendo. Yes, I hope you guys are enjoying the festive season. Kama ulikuwa unaenda kule mashinani, ushafika na umejiandaa vilivyo. Na leo bila shaka bado siasa tutapiga because kuna mambo mingi zinafanyika, and tonight we are not only dealing with the rumors that are happening in politics. We are dealing with the signals, political signals that suggest something fundamentally shifting in the orange democratic movement. And as we head towards 2027, in the recent interview by Suba MP, Suba South MP, Omodi Karoli, his political future as an ODM member lies in limbo. That statement that he made recently is significant, but when placed within a broader context of ODM's internal dynamics, is becoming impossible to ignore what is really happening in the orange democratic movement. And across Nyanza, dissenting voices are growing louder. Leaders who are questioning the party's directions, report being isolated, threatened, or quietly being edged out by other leaders. And with me in the studio, we have got none other than Leo to dissect and we analyze what is really happening in the orange democratic movement. Is ODM still a competitive democratic party, or has a loyalty replaced contest? Western Kenya, coastal region, I mean, there is something brewing. In Western Kenya, several loyal leaders are slowly disassociating themselves from ODM leadership, and it is evident. Attendance to these functions is more of just showing off and showing up and differing with the party leadership, and it seems that these people are not talking together. Now, let me welcome Leo in the studio so that he can tell me what he thinks about the situation in the Orange Democratic Movement. Leo, karibu sana kwa studio.
Thank you so much, Muzalend, and of course, for those people who are celebrating the Christmas seasons, Merry Christmas in advance. I know so many people have traveled from the cities going back to the rural, where they normally assemble each and every year so that they can have some time with their extended families and also share the moments that they've missed throughout the year as they are busy working to put some food on the table. So the only prayer is that they take care on the roads. We've seen a lot of accidents happening. So many people have lost their lives, and including the former minister, Cyrus Jirongo, who also lost his life in an accident in a similar way. So we just urge the motorists and the road users to be careful. It is not worth losing a life to this particular moment when people are celebrating the birth of Christ or the birth of new things in their life, and as also prepare to usher in the new year. Back to ODM, you and I understand that there are certain things that happens in a family when specifically the head of the family is dead or the head of the family is normal. In any other family, if somebody who've been heading the family dies, there is going to be a lot of challenges. There is going to be a lot of chaos, and it takes time, or it takes a lot of wisdom for the family to reunite and get back to where it was before. And in some families, it never happens. The family never remains the same again. So if you talk of ODM, this is a party that has been led by the late Raila Odinga since its birth, that is for the last 20 years. And it was not only the last 20 years, it's a party that has moved from LDP to NDP and right to ODM. Remember when Jaramogi passed, a similar thing happened, and Raila managed to consolidate his following and use his maybe structures and wisdom by then to create a political party, and a party that he worked with from one coalition, from one agreement to another. So if you want to talk of the leadership of Raila and the ODM, it did not even start when ODM was formed in 2005, but it started when he formed his own LDP, when he merged with Moi. So the people who've been following Raila have always been identifying with any outfit, irrespective of the name. So when he joined the NDP, people joined him. When they were having the NAC or the rainbow, people joined him in that rainbow. The same way, when he joined the ODM Kenya, that was later snatched and by Kalonzo Musyoka some few months to the 2007 general elections, people joined him in the unknown party that was a shell before Raila joined it. Remember, this party was with the Gitobi Manyara those months to elections, and nobody even cared for it. But immediately Raila fell out with Kalonzo, and Kalonzo ran with the Ford Kenya and joined this new party. Everybody joined him. So the challenges that are being experienced is that I think Raila had some centralized system of leadership, whereby whatever Raila said was law, and people took his command seriously. Whenever he said right, people did not question, which in leadership is one of the powerful aspects that if you hold as a leader, your leadership will always be stable. And if you even look at history during the colonial period, the communities that were easily colonized or were easily attacked by the neighbors are the ones who did not have some centralized system of leadership, like the one we've seen in Raila and the Luo community at large. And that is the system that he implemented in ODM. So right now we are having an ODM whereby a party leader, Dr. Buru, speaks a different language from the Secretary General, and some other leaders like the chairperson of the party are also speaking differently. Like yesterday, I saw Oburu Odinga and Sifuna reading from different scripts. So that one tells you that that centralized part of leadership is no longer there. Maybe Raila will be able to call them and they agree on what they're going to say, or all of them will have to affirm to what Raila said. So that is what is lacking. So it is just a matter of time. Being a member of ODM, I believe that after all these troubles and all these storms, the party is going to sober up and get back to the real ODM that we used to have. But alternatively, we can also say that there are people who maybe have been using Raila as a scarecrow in the party, whereby they say, if I say this, Raila's word being the party leader whose word was final, maybe his word might make you lose your political seat or such kind of thing. So this is the right time that those people who've always wanted change within ODM, they have an opportunity to give their views. And I like what is happening right now. It is democratic. The party leader will say we're in broad-based, and the secretary general will say we are not in broad-based, and everybody is free to share their mind. So I don't think there is panic, but they need to run quickly and try to put the house in order so that ODM can have one center of command rather than having different. No one wants to have different centers of command. That is what leads to the end of these parties. They become unmanageable, and people now get confused. Who should they follow? What should they follow? So I'll just call upon the people at the leadership to ensure they get a way of harmonizing things together so that they can have a central point of command rather than everybody operating at their own part. We also have people who claim to be members of the party, like the Embakasi East MP, but when we're having these party meetings, you don't see them. So that is what is happening in ODM right now. Everybody needs a share, even the people who doesn't have the party at their own interest.
All right, Leo, thank you. I mean, that was a very, very good observation from you in the absence of Raila. And today I watched an interview of one Wafula Buke, and it seems whatever you've narrated there uh, just tells exactly what Wafula Buke was saying. He was saying that he belongs to the Raila inner circle. The Raila inner circle consists of people like Orengo, you can name them. Uh, those are people who are making decisions within ODM from another wing. Now, there is another circle of Raila, another wing of Raila supporters. These are people like Junet, Gladys Wanga, and the likes, Millie Odiambo, and the likes. Those were also in another wing. But Raila Odinga could be in the middle of these two groups and bring them together and set the agenda. Anybody who was going off the rails, definitely they will never be seen. They will never see parliament again or something. So there was a way that he managed this movement. Now, Leo, with Raila no longer at the helm, ODM is navigating like uncharted territories. How is the party going to manage the leadership vacuum? And what does it mean for its unity strategy heading towards 2027?
I think, Mzalendo, that is really a good question that the party leaders in ODM ought to maybe think of. Remember, Raila was the unifying factor in ODM. Raila was not seen as maybe coming from Western or coming from Eastern or whichever part of ODM, but he resembled the entire party. He's one person who would go to coast, lift your hand, and people listen. Who will go to Western, who will go to Nyanza, that is both the Luo Nyanza and the Gusi part of Nyanza and the Kuria part of Nyanza, and also to Kambani and do the same. And the idea that Raila and the Rutos used in 2005 when they formed the ODM Pentagon is something that we also have to appreciate, whereby they decided to decentralize maybe this kind of leadership, to have somebody who will be able to speak for specific regions or maybe have some control over these regions. And they also tried that in ODM. Remember when Raila was going to AU, they came up with these positions of the deputy party leaders, and ODM managed to come up with the three party leaders, deputy party leaders. That is Simba Arati. I think he is the one who was to hold brief for the Nyanza, that both the Luo Nyanza and the Gusi part of Nyanza. We had the coastal part, they had the Mombasa governor, and all the western part, we had the Ososi. So these people replaced the individuals that were already there. Remember, we had Joho before and we had Oparanya. And the greatest mistake that ODM did that I need to fault them is when they were joining the broad-based government, in appointing the cabinet secretaries, they will not have given their best. They will not have given the members who are the party leaders. They will not have given Oparanya and Joho. Making Joho and Oparanya the cabinet secretaries, exempt them from participating in the politics. And now, because they are civil servants, and whenever they do it knowing very well it is illegal. They're just doing it because there is goodwill. So that is what is going to be a setback in the coastal part, because we are now having a first-term governor who also had some issues with the Joho towards the 2020 general elections. And Joho, who would have solidified cost, is now a CS, and the hands are now tied. He is now working under William Ruto. So that one gives Ruto also an upper hand in controlling ODM right at the coastal province. The same is happening in Western. We had Oparanya. Oparanya was more mature politically, and we are now giving Senator first-term senator who also wants to become a governor. No, once you want to go for these governorship seats, you are going to have a lot of enemies, because there are people who are also going to eye that seat, and this is also not going to work well with the ODM. there are people who will be trying to challenge Ososi's governorship in Vihiga. Actually, they are going to carry that grudge with the party because Ososi is now the deputy party leader. When it comes to Kisii, I don't see any problem because Simba Arati is doing his part in consolidating the Gusii, and we cannot maybe judge him based on the by-elections that were done, because if you look at Kisii, the two counties, they've always been a parallel. Like, they've never been voting
Yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah.
They have
Yeah.
that
Leo,
is true. We've been having Nyamira and Kisii. Kisii has been voting together with ODM throughout, apart from Nyamira, which has got some historical differences that are back to the Nyachai issues and such kind of things. So what is going to happen in ODM right now is I see a situation whereby Raila left a big vacuum, specifically in Nairobi. No ODM leader in Nairobi can be able to do what Raila used to do, because the people that you're having are having their own interest. The chairman in Nairobi, Aladwa, cannot be able to do that. He doesn't have that support that is needed. And if you ever seen anything successful in Nairobi, it was because of Raila himself, nothing else. So Nairobi, there's a huge vacuum, and for the first time, I will have to agree that those people who want positions in Nairobi, they'll have to calculate. I've seen areas whereby, like, an MP is negotiated and they give it to a lawyer. Not that the lawyers are majority in that constituency, but because of that goodwill that and the leadership of Raila that was there. A good example is what happened to Dagoretti, where we are having the former Nairobi City Speaker as the MP. We've seen such negotiations happening in Ambikasi South, something that has always been costing ODM that seat. You've been seeing people like that Muindi, Sumra, I'm forgetting the
yeah,
name.
yeah. Sumra,
If
yeah.
you look
Sumra
at it,
Mekasi.
and there are some even wards that when you go there, people are now going to look for some other political identities. I see a situation whereby the Luos will be voting their own if they are majority in that ward, and the lawyers will also be doing so. So the ODM is now we are going to have ODM that is going to be controlled by different, maybe communities or tribes. We've seen situations whereby we have a Gusii, they are minority, but they get the seat courtesy of consolidating all the Luos in that area. But at this point, you're going to find some constituencies, maybe in Kibra, whereby the tribal density in that area is going to determine who takes the who takes the ticket in ODM and such kind of things. That's a challenge you're going to have in Nairobi.
No,
For Nyanza,
Leo,
yeah.
I think that was a genius analysis of Nairobi. And I remember I kept on telling you Nairobi is very, very tricky for ODM in the absence of Raila Odinga. And you have not even mentioned that there are young leaders who are coming with the Gen Zs and all that. Nairobi is going to be very, very, very tricky. ODM can probably pull one or two seats in Nairobi, but the rest that they have,
No, if we go by that, I know there are seats that ODM is sure, no, not one or two, and even there are seats that they've just been losing because of being so cautious and saying that no, we don't want to be tribal and such kind of things. There are seats that that obviously ODM will have to win. There are seats that is not negotiable, that the other people doesn't have number to take it. And there's something that you're talking of about the Gen Z. I don't know if the IBC is being unfair or what.
mm,
If we look at the voter register, based on the statistics, nothing is going to change.
mm,
The Gen
no,
Zs
no,
that we
no,
are
no,
having.
no, no,
Now,
no, no.
let me finish.
Listen,
I want to give
listen.
you a good sample, and I'll tell you. They only register, there are specific places in this country that register is going to change. Right now, if you go to your county, and I have to applaud the PS Omolo, he's really doing a great thing. Even in my village, I see young men, I see old women, even older than my grandfather, lining. They get ID and the voter card. So if you look at the demographics that have started changing, so I don't know if Omolo is just doing it strategically in specific areas, but in Nairobi, just check the registration that has been opened and look at the change that has been there,
Uh,
less than 1%. So the only thing we need to do, I know you are a supporter of the Gen Z. I'm equally a supporter of the Gen Z, but I fail to identify with their laziness of shouting on the internet. But they don't take ID card.
I wanted to tell you because I think
Look at
you've not
the
come.
IBC have been posting it on a daily basis at the change that
Yes,
is taking place in
IBC
the
have been
voter register.
posting it, but
Nairobi is doing poorly. Nairobi is doing
there is
poorly.
I think what you are missing is the strategy, is the strategy they were having. And I saw Eric Omondi laying the strategy that they are having regarding the registration of and what they plan to do in registration. I think in the near future, towards the elections, before the deadline of registration, you'll see a number of them swimming in to register as voters. But anyway, having said that, let us move to the topic of today, and that is ODM fracturing ahead of 2027. That was our topic. Uh, I've seen leaders who we respect so much. Some of them are elected. Some of them have been supporters of ODM and now are drifting away from the party due to the wrangles that are happening. I want to play for you a clip by one of the leaders, Karoli Omondi, in his recent interview with NTV, courtesy of NTV, so that we look at what he's saying and what is possibly going to happen within the Orange Democratic Movement. Let me share a bit of that clip. Shift. All right.
Katika chama cha ODM kukosa kutetea viti vyao kwenye uchaguzi mkuu ujao kupitia tiketi ya chama hicho. Mbunge wa Suba Kusini Karoli Omondi amesema kwamba kamwe hatagombea katika chama cha ODM kwa sababu hadhi ya chama imerudi chini. Matamshi ya Omondi ambaye alikuwa mkuu wa wafanyakazi katika afisi ya Raila Odinga akiwa waziri mkuu, anasisitiza kwamba chama hicho kinazidi kupungua maarufu. Haya yanajiri huku ubabe ukiendelea kati ya kundi la katibu mkuu wa chama Edwin Sifuna na mwenyekiti wa chama hicho Gladys Wanga. Paul Nabiswa anaarifu.
Karoli Omondi ni kati ya watu waliokuwa karibu mno na waziri mkuu wa zamani Raila Odinga na aliamini itikadi ya chama cha ODM, ila sasa yadhania vinginevyo.
It is not my intention to seek re-election on ODM ticket. As a matter of fact, I think I will run for re-election on a different party. That is for sure. Which party it is and who I'm associating with, those we will discuss later. The only thing I can say, it is not one of the parties that you know. I think it will be a new party.
Inavyoonekana Karoli anadhana kuwa unapoumwa na nyoka ukiona ung'ong'o unashtuka.
Once they threaten to expel me, and then I know they will come with zoning rules. Didn't they just do that in Kasipul? What about all the other people who want to run in ODM strongholds? Where will they go? They'll zone. We know they'll not do credible nominations. We know. Do you think even the last time there were credible nominations in these by-elections, when there are complaints, people must have choices. ODM was to try to expel us, and it was wrong, because there's nothing wrong that we did by engaging with the president on development. Ruto won the elections fair and square. We had to recognize him. So we engaged with him. But when the party tried to expel us, they lost in court. Actually, I have a court order. They are supposed to pay me 690,000, which I've not claimed. Yeah, and it is hanging out there with the lawyer.
Karoli wasema ushirikiano huu unatakiwa kuwa na mizani, na baadhi ya wanasiasa akawataka waache kerere kuhusu matakwa ya Raila Odinga alipokuwa hai.
But he told us not to say two-term. And if any MP wants to contradict that, let them try, and we will tell them where they were told so. Only Atandi raised his hand that he said, I'm also member of budget committee, allow me to sometimes be saying this. Yeah. But Baba's instructions were that only Mbadi and Wandai should say two-term. The rest, no.
Watu wasidanganywe. Broad-based is not a constitutional and legal entity. Is an arrangement, ukarabati. Na katika hiyo ukarabati, Mtu ambaye aliomba usaidizi sisi wananchi, Ruto ndiye aliomba usaidizi akisema ya kwamba jamani, nafa, mje mnisaidie.
Yes, we are in broad base because some of our members waliingizwa huko wakapatiwa mawaziri. But that broad base is conditional on the 10 points agenda.
Uongozi mpya wa chama cha ODM baada ya kifo cha aliyekuwa kiongozi wa ODM Raila Odinga unampa ukakasi Karoli.
Something happened when Baba died that surprised me. There was a very quick transition even before Baba's body arrived. And when Mzee Oburu announced that he had accepted to be a party leader, he said he did not even know that there was a process to make him the party leader. What that implies is that that call came from somewhere else. And that worried me, because it therefore seems that ODM is getting directions and control from somewhere else. That worries me. Secondly, I do not feel that the current ODM and the leadership embraces the ideological and intellectual underpinnings upon which we founded the party. I find it very short-termist, very interested in imagery, and not characterized by deep thinking, but by acts of deep faith. I think it has been a mistake the last 2 months to project ODM as a Luo party and to project Baba as having been a Luo leader. Baba had 7 million votes in the last presidential election. Those 7 million votes, I think only 24% were Luos. So where are the other 76%? There is a big constituency of Baba out there that we need to engage with. We have to be alive to our traditional partners. We have to know what their feelings are. We can't just wake up and turn our back on the entire Western Kenya that have stood with us 4 election cycles. Eastern, 3 election cycles. Coast, 4 election cycles. Masai's, 4 election cycles. Turkana's, 4 election cycles. Kisi's, 4 election cycles. How do we just walk away? How? We have to engage with them. We could go with them to engage with Ruto. We could go with them to engage elsewhere on our own.
Wanachama wa ODM hawajafanya uamuzi wowote wa kuunga mtu yoyote mkono mwaka wa 2027. Baba mwenyewe alituambia chama cha ODM kina uwezo wa kutoa rais Kenya hii. Wewe ukienda kutuambia unaenda kuunga mtu mwingine, Baba alisema tukuulize who told you.
We cannot just move like crowds and cheering and whatever. We must sit down and look at how our engagement is going to be with UDA. You know, since UDA came to power, 3 fundamental things have happened. 1 was the Gen Z revolution. 2 was the rebellion of Mount Kenya. 3 was now the death, the sad demise of Baba. So all those things have to be factored in, yeah, as you engage with them going forward.
ODM is not for sale. ODM is not for sale. Najua kuna watu wanataka kuuza chama cha ODM. I can produce even the evidence that there are some people who are trying to sell this great party called ODM. They want a hostile takeover. They are making a sweetheart deal over the biggest party in the Republic of Kenya.
If there is any arrangement, we must be on the table. You cannot say ati nyinyi watu wawili watatu mnaenda kuongea alafu mnakuja Waluya tufuate. What is this? We will not allow that.
If you go into this arrangement without thinking, without sitting down properly and analyzing as a party, not with anybody else, in another year you'll be a smaller party than you are today. Chama cha ODM hakikudai kitu yoyote isipokuwa utekeleze mkataba uliandikisha na baba Raila Amolo Odinga.
Well, that was it, and I think we've had exactly what our leaders were saying. And Leo, I hope you were hearing what they were saying on the background, and that forms part of discussions this morning. Kalorio Mondi is one of the leaders that when he speaks, he doesn't just open his mouth. He's somebody that thinks before he opens his mouth to speak about something. And Karori Omondi's comments opened the door for very strong discussions about the internal democracy in ODM. And Leo, Suba South MP Karoli Omondi has raised serious concern about democracy within ODM, is questioning whether there will be fair nominations in ODM, even if he decides to remain within the party. He's also questioning whether party loyalty has been replaced by, genuine competition. Is ODM willing to have a competitive nomination process where the people elect a candidate of their choice? Now, how real is this problem? And what does it say about ODM's ability to allow free and fair grassroots process as we approach 2027? Leo, can you hear me?
First of all, I just want to start by telling you there's one thing that we need to be factual. I'll not take sentiment from Karolio Mondi seriously, because Karolio Mondi is an interested party who is, I don't want to say is bitter. I remember Karolio Mondi, apart from working in Raila's office as the prime minister, he once hosted ODM in his premises, the previous Orange House, until ODM got their own Chungwa house that they are currently in. And despite hosting ODM, he's been losing terribly to one body. So they have a grudge with the body. And the only moment he managed to be elected is when Badi wanted to go for governorship, and later on Badi had to step down for Gladys Wanga. That is the only time that he managed to be elected. And if Carol is claiming that the nominations have never been credible, then he needs also to, he didn't put a disclaimer, but he needs to tell us that his nomination was also not credible. So what happens is, I know nominations sometimes are normally challenging, and most parties doesn't do it in Kenya. It's only ODM that is seen because it is a bigger party. But I know 90% of the parties in this country don't even do nominations. They don't even hold those grassroots elections. People are handpicked and such kind of things. That is something that every Kenyan know. But this one for ODM, it attracts attention because of maybe the love that and equal hate that people have with the ODM. So when Karoli says that the nominations are not credible, I normally sometimes feel that if you've been a beneficiary of an incredible elections, you should not only complain when things are not working for you, but when it worked for him, he never came out to say that, you see, the nominations are not credible. If it was not done credibly, I'm pretty sure that even his nomination was not done. There are people who always celebrate when they are given direct nomination, which is part of their ODM party constitution, which allows direct nomination, allows consensus, and allows the universal suffrage. And when the ball is now, maybe the issue is now on the other side, people like Karoli will start complaining. Despite the fact that he was making some sense, but most of it I can take it as somebody who is just bitter. One reason I know Karoli might not run on ODM is the ODM chairperson is Gladys Wanga, And remember, his fierce opponent, Mbadi, is currently CS Finance. Mbadi has always been his opponent. And at some point, when Mbadi was still a nominated MP, Mbadi threatened that he's now going back for his seat when these people fell out. Karoli is not in good terms with Wanga and such kind of things. So for him, it is obvious. But we should not use that one to scare those people who want to join the party and participate in all the processes that are outlined in the party constitution. Remember, the party constitution have got different ways of getting a flag bearer, which as a member of a party, if you sign and subscribe to it, you cannot go outside there and say, no, nomination was not done. Yet you know very well there's a clause that allows such kind of things. And this issue of 2027, I'll agree with the part that he's saying Raila did not talk of two-term and only allowed Mbadi, Wadai are all in order to speak of two-term because that is their boss right now. Go to Sam Atandi, the chair of budget committee. Which budget is he chairing? He's chairing the budget that is implemented by the executive, which is headed by William Ruto. So failure to support a second term means you've already lost hope in the person you are working for. Ruto doesn't interact with people. Ruto doesn't implement these things as a personal level, but he does them through this chair of budget committees and the cabinet secretaries. So if Ruto fails, then it means Atandi have failed. If Ruto fails, it means that Mbadi has failed. So they're the people who can decide to make Ruto fail, or they can decide to make Ruto re-elected. And also, they cannot sabotage Ruto because, one day they'll want some leadership and you'll ask them, Mbadi, as the cabinet secretary of finance, what did you do with that responsibility that now you want some bigger responsibility? So naturally, there's no way these people who joined broad-based government cannot fail to support Ruto's presidency. They have to, first of all, start believing in it. But as things go by, you'll find that there are some of the things that are doing that you don't need to be told that Ruto should be re-elected. Ruto might not be good. He might not delivered as per the promise. You are among the people who voted for Ruto because of the plan that he had. He might not have achieved that which he put in the plan. But what is the alternative? What is the alternative of Ruto? Sometimes you have to ask yourself, this bus might not reach the destination that I want in time. What is the alternative of this bus? The alternative can only be something that moves faster than that bus. The alternative cannot be something that doesn't have a plan. Like you want to tell me we are not going to re-elect Ruto, then who are we going to replace Ruto with? We cannot replace Ruto with something that is substandard. So that's the issue. So the only reason why I'm sure Ruto is going to be elected is that because there is no alternative, there is no competitive. Forget about the jokers you people have been talking. People started singing, I don't know, Kiraro, I don't know, Chief Justice. Being a Chief Justice and President are two different things. So at the moment, the only person who is at the executive who has got what it takes maybe to take Kenya where we want to go to, will accept. Initially, Baba wanted to take us to Canaan and route have changed. Now the route, we are not going to Canaan, we are going to Singapore. So be it.
I saw the Singapore story, and the opposition claims that Ruto stole it from them. Gachagua was the custodian of the Singapore story, but they delayed in selling the narrative. Ruto is so smart in selling a narrative that will sink on people's head. But anyway, let us not go to Ruto in 2027. We are dealing with the ODM internal wrangles, and we are unearthing so many other things that are happening within this party. And interestingly, the Luya and the coastal region are dissatisfied with the senior ODM leaders in the broad-based arrangement, and they are arguing that even I had the governor for Mombasa saying that ODM in 2027 they can field a candidate. Even Hassan Joe is fit to be a candidate. That can be just politics, but there is some statement that when leaders like a governor from Mombasa is saying that there's a problem within the leadership of ODM. So, Leo, do you think this top level kind of messages that are coming from senior uh, members of the party is confusing the support base of ODM?
That is what I started with. I think the people who are senior most there, everybody is selfishly fighting for their political interest, and they are causing more harm than they might think, because they are giving contradictory information, and everybody wants to prove, they want to prove their worth. I'm the one who can speak for the party, but they're not doing anything showing that there are people who are in the grassroots giving directions and also helping. It is not just shouting and saying, you see, root or totem. Then what are you doing in your leadership position that can make somebody to see the reality in totem? For example, if somebody like Dr. P.S. Omolo tells you that tutam, and you look at some of the activities he's doing in the grassroots, like registration of IDs and the registration of the voter cards that is taking place in his backyard and the entire Luo Nyanza, it tells you he's serious with this tutam issue, because tutam starts by taking vote. If you look at some people talking of Sultan, but when you go back to their maybe rural areas, they are trying to ensure that they tap on these national development plans, and the roads can be seen going to their roots and such kind of things. Somebody will see some sense, and they will not even be able need to be told Sultan. But there are people, when they wake up, you see, we are not in this broad base. They're not giving alternatives. They're not giving right direction. They are just there, and this is what is going to work against the ODM a party. And the worst thing that happened is, people like Joho, they had the people who had some charisma that will give direction. But now that they were put in the cabinet secretaries, it also limits their political activity. So that is a setback that we also have to agree. And then secondly, also moving forward, talking of ODM will fail. So what have you done to convince people that this ODM is going to field the candidate moving forward? We've seen people like Joe, we've seen the top leaders. We're seeing somebody like Gladys Wanga. Gladys Wanga is also fighting for her space. I understand she wants to become the deputy president.
Don't just brush
And
it off.
apart from that,
Don't
she
just
also
brush it off.
wants
I
she
need you to
wants some.
elaborate on that a bit.
I'll talk on that. She wants some dominance, and once wants some dominance, you're going to be in problem with other people. Gladys Wanga is a good lady. She's so charismatic. I like the way she mobilizes. Mobilizing, even if you pay people, that is mobilization. So there's nothing like, she buys people, she buys the crowd. Part of buying crowd and paying people and buying loyalty is still mobilization, because at the end of the day, you're going to earn this loyalty. So the only problem with Gladys Wanga is that she thinks that when you disagree with her, then you are now an enemy, and she wastes a lot of time destroying her enemies than convincing the enemies to get into his camp. Something that Raila did not do. Raila will be abused by Miguna, and at the end of the day, they still came to work together in 2018. Despite all those abuses, he knows the potential. You don't burn some bridges. Look at what Wanga is doing in your Homa Bay. People like Odoyo, I might not agree with him. I might not agree with this kind of politics, but those are people you don't waste time destroying them. The more you keep on destroying them, the more you drift them and their supporters away from you, and people begin to see the bitterness in you. So that's the only weakness that Wanga is having. She takes a lot of time to destroy those people with dissenting opinion against her, and that is so dangerous when it comes to leadership of a party like ODM. So it will really be hard. It will take time for ODM to get somebody of the caliber of Raila, somebody who will be able to maybe stomach all those insults and abuses and still embrace you.
You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. They right now they are talking about encroachment. I don't know whether you've heard about encroachment. That Wanga and her team, they don't want any other political movement within Nyanza to field a candidate to encroach in on their base, just like they don't want to field any candidate in Rift Valley. They are forgetting that Oledama, Olekina, those are people who are elected on an ODM ticket in Rift Valley. So in Nyanza, they want UDA candidates completely out of Nyanza. What do you think about this?
Okay, I think though that is a survival tactic that has been used by Wiper, but ODM is a party that should not go to the level of Wiper. ODM is a party that should be able to bully its opponents and carry the day. Wiper has been supporting Raila all those 10 years, and he've not lost his relevance in Okambani, courtesy of this thing called the zoning. If it was not for zoning, Wiper will not be a political party, because the people of Kombani would have even been electing people from other political parties. But Wiper have managed to survive courtesy of the zoning. Why not for zoning? Even that party for Mutua would have worked. And the only reason why Mutua will not work with Kalonzo is because Mutua was against zoning. So why do I think
do you think this zoning thing is a good thing?
That is why I'm coming back there. I want to come back there. Zoning thing is not a good thing. It limits a political party to a specific area. Number one, it also limits competition. Remember, if there is competition, the turnout is good. This is what has always been working against ODM in Nyanza. Imagine you've zoned it for ODM, of which after the ODM nominations, and we know Mzalendo have been given a ticket, everybody is pretty sure that Mzalendo is going to be elected. So whether you go to the voting center to vote for you or not, even if only 10 people vote, you're going to win. So why would I win with 10,000 votes and 20,000 votes have not been cast? But if we do away with zoning, we allow competition among the political parties. Imagine a situation whereby there is an ODM candidate in Kasipul, there is UDA candidate in Kasipul, and there is also another party. The turnout is going to be high, but the person who is going to benefit is the president, because all these people who are going to turn out, they will vote for different people at the ward level, at the MP level, or at the governor level, but they'll only vote for a specific person at the presidential level. In that case, it will have been Raila, but in this case, it will be that person who will maybe have made some inroads. You saw the by-election that happened in Nyanza. The by-election in Kasipul, the turnout was higher compared to by-election in Ugunja. Did you know why? In Kasipul, the coming up of Otete, though we knew very well he was going to lose, at least made the turnout to be high. There are those people who came to vote for Otete. There are those people who voted for Boyd. At the end of the day, majority turned out to vote. But if it was only Boyd, the same way we had in Ugunja, the voter turnout is low, and it is going to affect the person who wants the presidential or the gubernatorial vote. So zoning should not be done. I know very well UDA cannot win in Nyanza, but they should be allowed so that they bring the kind of competition. For us to have quality leaders, we need to have different parties, and we need to have different people that are going to the ballot. So those people are talking of encroaching. I think that thing is misplaced. And moving forward, if you look at even the voter top turnouts, I come from Ugenya, where the member of parliament is not member of ODM, but the turnout of the people of Ugenya is normally higher because of that competition that is normally brought. You find that David Ochieng is getting like 30,000 votes, and that person for ODM is also getting like 29,000 votes, a total of 60. Go to place like Alego with the 90,000 plus voters registered, and an MP of ODM is winning with 30,000, meaning about 60,000 did not turn out to vote simply because there was no competition. So the zoning thing, I think they should allow other political parties. That is when we'll have competitive elections, and the people will start being serious, and the politics of I have been nominated by this party will also end. After that, ODM will also up their game. They'll also work on their nomination discrepancies that people are complaining of. They'll also scrutinize the people that they want to associate with and ensure they give the tickets to the people who can comfortably win. In some places we had zoning happening, but the people who are given those places, that is what killed ODM in Western. Remember, Western, some parts were zoned for DAP, those parts of Trans Nzoia. It is only Hamisi who managed to win on ODM, but the rest who are from DAP, apart from Salasia and the rest, did not win those seats. So had ODM not been zoned out, maybe the people would have won those seats in ODM. So zoning is it should be done away with.
I agree with you, Leo. ODM has oftenly relied on zoning to allocate positions for members who are loyal. They call them loyal, yeah? Loyalty, infidelity, all those good words that they give their members. So these are seats that are specifically designated for members that they know will not go against the party leader, then Raila Odinga. Now, it does not, just as you said, it does not encourage internal democracy within the party. It does not. It does not represent what ODM stands for. That is the Orange Democratic Movement. It doesn't represent that. It is more or less that this zone is ours, and we don't want any opposition amongst the leaders who are within this locality. So it is also against multi-party democracy principles. So why do we even fight for multi-party democracy? Why did Baba and the rest fight for multi-party democracy if they don't allow internal democracy and if they don't allow competition? So all they want is that to ensure that they whip the community in a certain political direction to ensure people who are close to them, like Karoli has said in that particular video, that most of them, if you are not close to the office, if you are not close to Gladys Wanga, you will not get that ticket, and that is a fact. So I agree with you. Let them allow other political movements to come in so that we have an healthy competition within Nyanza, and may the best candidate win. Now, let us shift gears and we move to one controversial, most outspoken Secretary General of the party ODM, Edwin Sufuna, who has publicly criticized party directions, even hinted that he might walk out of ODM should they form a coalition with the UDA. And recently, he still insists on the 8 pointers that Baba had given UDA to be implemented. Do you think that these 8 pointers that ODM presented to the UDA government will ever be what is the right word, will be ever be implemented, especially the compensation of the victims of the riots? Do you think that this thing the government is really taking it seriously, that they need to implement the 8 pointers so that they move on in one direction with the coalition of members who are allied to the broad-based ideology? Lee, I can't hear you. I think you're kind of I don't
Hello.
know whether yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, you're saying.
No, I was saying that having seen what is happening, Edwin Sifuna, who was publicly criticized UDA, and even he has hinted that if ODM works with UDA, he will simply walk out of ODM.
I
And
think for Edwin Sifuna is laughable.
just hold on,
Yeah.
your thoughts. He has also hinted out that there were 8 pointers that they gave UDA government to implement, and that is what is following. If that is followed to the letter, he's speaking with two sides of his mouth. If that is followed to the letter, then he might work with the Ruto. If everything that they gave William Samoei Ruto is followed to the letter, then Sifuna and his group will work with William Ruto. But do you also think that William Ruto is ready to implement what they had agreed with Baba?
Zalendo, you'll find most of these 9-point or the 10-point agenda, most of them, for them to be implemented, it happens in the Senate and the National Assembly. And like there are this thing, like let's talk of compensating the victims of violence from the 207 and such kind of thing. Already there was a goodwill, but the thing has been halted. The cases are in court. And you know, the people who've gone to court, they're the people who are working with Edwin Sifuna and the rest. So I just want to say one thing about Edwin Sifuna. You know, Edwin Sifuna doesn't have a voter identity. His only voting identity is ODM. Edwin Sifuna was voted as a senator of Nairobi, not because of Edwin Sifuna. He was voted because of ODM and ODM Secretary General. Number two, Edwin Sifuna is a senator. He has got an opportunity to address some of these things in the Senate where he sits, but he doesn't. Edwin Sifuna speaks in the national television. We see him in radio, in TV, and on the press conferences. Have you ever seen him even holding a Wazee meeting in his backyard there in Bungoma, or in his house in Nairobi? Even a meeting with even youth, or a meeting with even men trying to maybe have some political talks. He speaks on the press. And you know, the press where the audience is already there. You go to the press, you go to the citizen. In the Senate, he doesn't do anything constructive that can help his party. So being a parrot secretary general and claiming to give such threats, I think Edwin Sifuna is just lying to himself, and it's just a matter of time. Because what I know is that he doesn't have a political identity. Apart from ODM and being Secretary General of ODM, he doesn't have any political identity that identifies with him, or that he can identify with, that he can also bank on. He enjoys the support of Kenyans on TikTok.
Leo, I think you're very wrong.
Who doesn't consolidate their voting at a specific place? Edwin Sifuna will enjoy the support of you, who is not in Nairobi, somebody who is in Kakamega, somebody who is in Mombasa. So when now voting is taking place, he doesn't have that identity. So
do you know how many votes did Sifuna? Do you know how many votes?
I've told you. Listen, I've already told you that the votes that Sifuna got, he did not get as Sifuna. He got those votes as ODM. And if you think it is a lie, just moving forward, maybe you don't know Sifuna before that. Before he even came to vie in Nairobi, Edwin Sifuna went to try vie in his Bungoma backyard. He was beaten, pants down.
No, that is the wrong analysis.
Nairobi, he was given a direct.
The voting pattern. Listen, Leo, I will not agree with you with that.
Even he's the Secretary General. Listen. Edwin Sifuna is the Secretary General of ODM. His MCA back at home is not a member of ODM, and is the Secretary General of ODM.
Won in Nairobi, and he was beaten in Homa Bay. The voting pattern in the rural areas is very different from the
I myself voted Edwin. Listen, I voted Edwin Sifuna because of 6 Ps. I've been voting Pasaris. Do I even know what Pasaris stands for? Apart from maybe seeing her beautiful look and her nice legs.
What you are confessing today is that you've not been voting on policy.
No, their positions have been like, how does
you've been voting euphorically.
What has Edwin Sifuna done as a senator?
No. Did you just confess that you don't even vote with your brain? So what did
I
you
vote
just
for the
say?
party. No, let me tell you. This is politics. Why do we have political parties? They are vehicles. Once you believe in the structure of the party, even a cat can work under the structures that
you can vote for a cat.
As long as the party is strong and the party has
So
got
long
the
as
structure.
the cat is wearing orange, you will vote for it.
Actually, that is why you have political parties. If it was not for that, then I would go for individual candidates who are contesting on independent.
Then why does your party give us cats to vote for?
So once the cat has changed his ideologies and want to use personal ideologies rather than the structures within the party, then the cat becomes useless. Why do you board easy call? Listen, whenever you want to, let me give you a good scenario.
Let me say hi to those who are joining us in the studio. Hey,
whenever
Leo.
you want to go home, you will board easy coach. You will not go to those ones in Machakos. When you go to Machakos, you'll board a car based on the driver and how the people who are ushering you have managed you. But when I go to easy coach, I don't need to know the driver because easy coach has already set a name. They've set the standards. They have the structures. Even if I find somebody blind on the driver's seat, I'm pretty sure that the bus will reach Kisumu. But when I go to Machakos, I have to check, is this driver drunk? Oh, how is the driver behaving? Is he arrogant? But when I go to Easy Coach, because of the brand. So that is what propelled Edwin Sifuna. Let us not cheat Edwin Sifuna. He's going to fall. And now I'm not supporting that he should work with Ruto. Actually, he needs to be independent, but he also needs to work on himself as Edwin Sifuna, work on his identity. How can you be a Secretary General of the largest party and in your village, you can't even convince few people to vote for an MCA in a party that you are the SG? Who does that?
Sifuna does not represent the people in the village. Sifuna is representing the people of Nairobi, a cosmopolitan area. Why do you want? He doesn't use vernacular. Please give him a break.
My friend,
him a break.
Raila was
monologue.
Raila was never elected to represent the people of Bondo. He was representing the people of Nairobi.
Have you ever seen Raila contest? Hey, Pole. Did you see Raila contesting in Bondo?
He never. But was he having influence in Bondo? Yes.
Where he had influence. So it doesn't really matter where you start your political career. If it didn't work for if it didn't work for Sifuna in the rural areas, he came in town and he won the seat overwhelmingly.
Listen,
so, what is your problem with that?
He's not Secretary General of Nairobi. He's the SG of ODM, the entire country. So he needs to wield that influence. Raila was never elected in Bondo, but he had influence in his backyard. His words.
Okay, let us go to the politics in Western region. Do you know the politics in Western region? Why did ODM win, for example, in Bungoma?
ODM, I'll tell you, if you've been following, ODM has never been able to win in Bungoma. This is something that is historical from Kijana Wamalwa. And whenever the first time that they've been voting for Raila as an individual or as a party with Wetangula is more powerful in Bungoma than any other politician might think. And actually,
do you remember we had a Secretary General called Ababu Namwamba? Did he ever win in his constituency?
Ababu Namwamba was a Secretary General, and he's a typical example of Sifuna. When he became more popular and thought that it was him, Ababu, and dumped ODM and formed a certain party with some Mwiko and some women behind, and does some eating competition during Christmas in Budalangi and Manyala. What happened to him? He was a bright guy. Actually, that guy, you cannot compare Ababu's intellectual capacity with Sifuna. Sifuna is an average thinker. You can't compare Babu Namwamba to Sifuna. And if there's one man that
how do you hey boss, how do you, I mean you are going overboard now. You are even able to measure Sifuna's IQ. I think that is propaganda.
Based on the decisions that he makes, you can be able to know he's an average
are you talking about?
No, there's some decisions.
Sifuna has lasted in ODM a longer time compared to Ababu Namwamba. and that tells you that he can manage the affairs and the political space in ODM better than
No,
Ababuna Mwamba.
he has been defeated
So,
to manage their political affairs. And I think those are some of the reasons why ODM is bound to fail. Because if you have somebody like Edwin Sifuna as your Secretary General, then you are doomed. Maybe when Raila was there, Raila would give guidance. I think Raila was the alpha.
who is your suggestion for a better Secretary General in ODM?
Yeah.
Who's your suggestion?
No,
Sifuna is out. Give us a
I,
suggestion for
I
ODM.
think right now, without being biased, the people that we have at the topper position there, most of them are not serious. Most of them are people who just hanged on ODM to be elected and hanged on Raila Odinga for their popularity. They didn't understand what they're doing. We should drain that swamp. First of all, start by sending the old man Oburu Odinga to go and rest. We don't need a party leader like that. And we give that party leadership position to one Simba Arati. And when it comes to the party secretary general, we can bring in young people. Remember, there's somebody called Atara. This person, I think, became the youth leader when you are still a member of ODM, and he is older than you. He passed the age of youth, and he still claims to be youth leader. So those people need to be sent away. We replace with young people like Kasmuel. And for the secretary general, I'll really vote for somebody that I know will always speak, whether it is right, whether it is hurting you. There's one gentleman that most people have not been friends to, call Robert Alai. That man is should not even be an MCA. He's better than an MCA. He's one man you will disagree with, but he doesn't care. But he will tell you the truth the way it is. Even all these things, even towards the 2022, he was the only person who came and said that if you keep on managing these things, the people, if you keep on managing these things the way they are, then I see Ruto beating us. And he's always consistent. That is one thing I have to give Robert Alai.
What about me?
About you are an outsider. You left ODM, so we don't plan with outsiders.
Haven't I been consistent with my message to you and how the politics in Kenya is going?
There is what is called fair consistency, but there is what is called bias consistency. You've been consistent, yes, but you've been consistent on the negative side.
What do you mean negative side?
You get it? There's somebody who is consistent.
Oh, I don't give you any positives. I only give you the wrong side.
That is the only consistency that you have. You are consistent on negativity. So that is yours is a one-sided. But for Robert Alai, he will give due where it belongs. He will also discredit what deserves to be discredited. But on your end, you are consistent, but you are consistent with the negative side.
I think the difference is that Alai supports where his bread is buttered. That is the difference. I am only consistent on a principle and things that I feel that are good for the ordinary Kenyan and not for the political class. That is the difference between me and Alai. Now, thank you, Isaiah Monyeko, Mosoti Obadia, Kiplagat Osaya, and Andrew for joining this discussion. We also have Alex. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kefa, for tuning in. Thank you, every other person who is tuning in. If you're watching us from Matembei platform, this is Zalendo and Leo presenting for you this analysis. Just go to Leo page, follow him, like whatever he's presenting there. And also remember that Africa 24 is bringing for you all these live analysis as they happen. If you don't agree with us, please take a point and step up here and tell us what you think about our politics. Here we give a sober discussion of the situation the way it is in Kenya. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. The way our friends on the comment section have been doing. Isaiah, thank you very much. Moseti, Asante, Kiplagat, Asante Sana for the thumbs up. I will continue giving you such good stories with my good friend here, Leo, very polished political analyst, and he looks into every direction of the politics, but I know where his heart lies most. And as we wrap up this 1 hour discussion in our politics, let us just speak the truth. And we want to end it with, what has been happening in the social space. Leo,
Yeah.
I've seen this lady who has just come up with the allegations against Raila Odinga's family. Can you just try and break down what is happening within the Odinga's family and these allegations that this lady is bringing up? Because this is what is in the social platform.
I think, just like when you go to court, sometimes there's some cases the magistrate will look at you, the case is valid, and the magistrate will tell you the case that you are trying to argue has been passed with the event. So this lady, from what I know, is related to the Dingas, which is true. I think cousin to Raila's mom, and the most important role that he played is that she was the babysitter who took care of Oburu and Raila, meaning she worked for Jaramogi. And under the old traditional arrangements, this kind of works, most of them were never paid. If you happen to have married and your wife gets a child, the wife will go back to their village and get a close relative to come and do the weaning for the children until they grow. And at some point, some of these ladies that were brought to maybe babysit your children would end up becoming your co-wives. If you are related and maybe within that time, and men are men, they will end up turning into family members. So the details that the lady is giving out, some have been in public domain, some are maybe some personal in-family revelations. But the question we need to ask it, what is maybe the end game? What is the need for telling us about Raila when Raila himself is not there? It is an African culture. When you go to a funeral, during that time when people give neno, you speak good of the departed, because you can never have a case against the departed. Even all the debts that the departed owed are always written off. So why do you speak good? So that you can be able to remember a departed person. And mostly people are remembered by the good things that they did. It doesn't mean that those people who die, as African, when you die, you become good, because you've really departed and you are beginning a new life where we'll not be able to interact. So however much we try to bring the balance or how your life was, it is just a waste of time. So maybe if it is something that is going to help the living, maybe relate well, because what she's revealing is not positive, and I think at this point it is not necessary. And what Mama Ida needs right now is time to heal. Actually, she's human. She might have had the flaws, and she also needs time to heal from the loss. She lost somebody that she stayed with the entire life, somebody that have given her the status that she enjoys rightfully. So anything negative that is going maybe to drift people away from the Dinka family, I don't think it's not going to be necessary or to work, because the relation that not only the Luos, those people who subscribe to Jaramogi's family, is written on their hearts, and no amount of expose, whether true or not true, can change that. I remember when Jaramogi died, and the spirit, I can say, rose in Raila, and those people who are Ramogi's friends, Jaramogi's friend, became friends of Raila. Those people who are Jaramogi's enemies inherited that enmity up to date. And when we are making our politics, I sometimes tell I had Karoli talk of the Gen Z revolution and the Mount Kenya rebellion. And there's one thing that Karoli knows very well, but he feared for being maybe labeled as somebody who is a tribalist. The Mount Kenya were not rebelling against William Ruto. The Mount Kenya were rebelling against Raila Odinga. And if you look at the tone right now in Mount Kenya and the tone that was there previously before the death of Raila, it has changed. How they were harsh to William Ruto when Raila was there has really changed, and now you can see the UDA can still get back there. However much they're trying to fight Ruto, but they're not using that energy that they were using when Raila was there. So the only point of enmity that they were rebelling against Raila joining William Ruto. And that is why moving forward, the politics is going to be so interesting in 2027. For the first time, we are going to have politics where the Odingas will not be on the ballot. The Odingas will not be a factor. And we are going to have quality members of parliament, specifically from the central part. You know, majorly, even Gachagua confirmed, if you look at the quality, we've lost our parliament, and parliament is no longer a place where the legislatures do the legislation. Parliament has become a place whereby the people who manage CDF, which is not their role, the people who give Christmas gifts to their constituents are the ones who are rated as the highly performing. The people who post a lot about things that the national government or county government is doing in their regions, like the roads or such kind of things, are the ones who are ready to be best performing. If you go to the house in the country you are in, US, and you want to know the best performing lawmaker, it is based on the quality of laws, how the laws they make, how they debate in their Senate, and how those debates have impacted the lives of citizens in America. But when you come to Kenya, the best rated MP is not the person who even debates in parliament, is the person who posed with some 10 buses, or the person who assembled his constituencies for some Christmas gifts and such kind of thing. I believe in the next election, we are going to elect legislatures. And we are suffering because we don't have good legislatures. We don't have quality. So that lady, I don't have an opinion, anything against her. I can't dismiss her. But the thing is, what she's saying is irrelevant. Who wants to know how evil Mama Ada is or how evil Raila was? The Odinga and the Raila is over. And that is why even I was telling you what we have to do as ODM is to ensure that we get a party leader and remove Oburu. So that when we are now going to think of party, now Oburu should be there. We don't want the name Odinga from that. Winnie should not come and tell us who the friends, her friends, and whatever is. If she wants to form a movement that is not formed out of boardroom, she can just walk and pick her friends like Sifuna and Babu Owino, then they form another movement. But right now, the party that we're having is ODM. We want to do away with the Oburu. Then anybody else can become a party leader on ODM. So we move as a party. Yes, majority of members in ODM are Luos. We respect and subscribe to the Odinga's ideology, and we'll, of course, we will keep revering that. But right now, in the absence, you want to learn to live without the Jaramogis. Some of us have faced discrimination because of being associated to Jaramogi. So this is something that now we want to live free. There are people who've inherently hated us simply because of that. But now I want to tell them, now look, if you people hated Raila, Raila is not there. Do you still hate our good brains? Do you still hate our good ideologies? Are you now able to join ODM now that it is not Raila's property? That is what we want right now.
All right, that is what Leo Nyabaya really wants. If you're watching us from Mtembei X page, please make sure that you subscribe to Africa 24. I'm seeing quite a number, about 100 people watching us from various platforms, and you've not subscribed to Africa 24. Please make sure that you go to our page and subscribe to Africa 24. If you like our content, please also email Africa 24 as I put our email down there. Leo is saying that it's very, very sad. Now, we have ruled out that whether ODM will be a united party or not. But let me pose the question to you viewers at home: is ODM still united? What do you think? For you guys who are watching us at home, what do you think about ODM party? Is it really united? Which leaders again do you think are losing credibility within the Orange Democratic Movement? And and one last one, and this is very, very important. Leo had insinuated that the party leadership of ODM should go to one Simbarati. What about the coast region and the western region and the roles that they have played in the Orange Democratic movement. What do you think? Yeah, share your thoughts here on Africa, and we will be able to hear them. Meanwhile, Leo, what is your thought about Western and coastal region? They have been supporting ODM uh, ever since, and
I think
Baba's support base
if I go straight on that,
was in the
these people
coastal
have
region.
been they've not only been supporting ODM, but they've been great followers of Jaramogi. The only constituency that Jaramogi lost he had some command and great following in the eastern part of Mount Kenya. That is Meru, where we had people like Kiraitu Murungi. So that is the only part that was lost. And their other eastern brothers decided to follow their western brothers, the Mount Kenya from the western part. But when it comes to coast, western, and the Nyanza, these people have really supported ODM, and their support has never been in vain. I remember when Raila managed to negotiate some broad-based kind, Joho was given a position. Apart from Joho, remember we are having a PS, the youngest, the guy from Coast. So Coast at least got some 2 positions. The same happened to Western, remember? And one also happened to the Suba and some other lawyers in Siaya in the name of Pio Wandai. But when it comes to attacks and stomaching all the evils, the people who've always suffered most, specifically the Luo Nyanza, when it comes to demonstrations, majority who've been shedding blood are the people of Kisumu. They were never given some position or something like that. Like they normally say, when you're a parent, you don't start with when you are having some children from your brothers in your house and you buy something or you want to give some food, you don't start with your own children. If you start with your own children, they'll accuse you of being unbiased. So you start with your brother's children, then your children eats last. So, and as a low community, we've really suffered. And when all the attacks are being made right now, the people who are being attacked as foolishly following William Ruto are the Luos. They are forgetting that in Western, we are having the Speaker of the National Assembly supporting William Ruto. We are having Oparanya. We are having several cabinet secretaries from the Luya or the Western, but they don't get attacked. People will face the Luos because of only John Buddy, who is not even a Lua sober, and they say, you Luos, you are foolishly following Ruto. The same also happens to Coast. But when it comes to this leadership, parties normally have got identity, despite the fact that ODM has got majority in Western, that is Busia, followed by Homa Bay and Coast. The identity of ODM, actually, it was identified by Raila, who comes from Nyanza. That is why I was proposing. The people of Central Nyanza have been in the forefront, right from Jaramogi. They overshadowed Tom Boyer, who is also from Nyanza. So this time round, in that spirit of reciprocating, let us give it to
I think
we are not going to give it to the son of Omola Agar because he's not in ODM. We have the son of Nyanza there in Simbarati. If we give it to Simbarati, that is Kavirondo. I don't know what.
Leo.
Is there anything wrong with the connection? Oh, sorry.
I think you're
Something is
being
wrong with your
dramatic.
connection, eh?
No. We are okay. You at some point I was losing you, but we are fine. I was losing at some point. Leo, I think as we wrap up this evening edition of 60 minutes, I want you to give your last thoughts of the situation in the country and how you want to see the politics being organized by the opposition and maybe the ruling party that you support.
Right now, I can say the year hasn't been bad. And despite, we've had a lot of political setbacks, like those kind of deaths and such kind of things. But so far, so good. If you look at our economy, even our exchange rates, things have already stabilized. So moving forward, I know we're only having a year to the next general election. So that is the only problem. The only cancer in Kenya is that we do politics throughout. It would be my wish that next year, 2026, people put politics aside and allow those people implementing the policies to implement, so that we get back to politics in 2027. But I fear this is not going to happen. Now people want to start campaigning, and the moment people want to start campaigning, even the president and the executive are going to be invited into the campaign mood. And remember, whenever we are having a campaign mood, nothing constructively happens as far as development is concerned. We've really gotten into several partnerships that we just need some cool environment, goodwill, so that these things can be implemented. If you look at the loans that we've maybe agreed to, or the private public partnerships that are going maybe to expand our roads and work on our infrastructure, it doesn't need some sort of this sabotage or some sort of political hostility. We need to become, so that we can commit to these projects. If that all happens, I'm telling you, we are going to be great. But moving forward, I can say Kenya we are doing well. We are doing well. And as we are working forward even to host the AFCON, I remember the next AFCON that we're going to host, the preparations are being made. We only need to now call upon the president that moving forward, we just need accountability. We'll not be celebrating Atalanta Stadium if people maybe overquoted or mismanaged the funds there. We'll not be celebrating, like, most of us, uh, we celebrate the fact that Uru came up with the SGR. But when you think of the money that was used there, how the cost was inflated, and the railway was just left hanging somewhere in the bush in Naivasha, not giving us any economical value, then you stop appreciating that. So I appreciate the fact that there are plans to extend the railway, there are plans for dwelling and other infrastructures that are taking place. So we pray that as Kenyans, tuweke siasa kando, tuangalie maendeleo ya nchi. When it comes to 2027, people can get back to politics.
Well, as you had Leo, people can get back to politics. I am wondering why you didn't mention Singapore. I think maybe that has eluded you at some point. You should have mentioned your vision for Kenya being a first world, as said, as Ruto has put it. But anyway, we wrap up tonight show, and ODM is at crossroad. Leadership decisions today will shape Kenya's political future. The cracks are real, the electorate is awake, and the countdown to 2027 has just begun. Leo, thank you very much for your insights, and thank you, viewers on Africa, our viewers on other platforms. Thank you for joining. I am Muzalendo, and stay informed, stay engaged, and please make sure that you go to your YouTube platform and subscribe to Africa 24. That is where we have the real conversation. Guys, thank you very much. And Isaiah, asante sana. Mosota, asante sana. Obadia, asante sana. Kiplagat, for keeping me engaged throughout this night. And all those who have not been subscribers of Africa 24, if you like our content, make sure just you go to the YouTube, so that each and every time we upload such good such good stories and content, you are able to be notified that you can watch and you can also jump in and be part of the conversation. Otherwise, good night and have a merry Christmas and Happy New Year if we don't meet again. Enjoy the festive season. And please take care. If you're driving up country, be very, very careful on the roads. There are other road users who have probably have had one too many. Be careful. Be very, very careful. If you are driving for sure for up country for the first time with your new car, please hire a driver. If you are drunk, please don't drive. Make sure that you have a designated driver to take you all the way. We want to see you in 2026. Otherwise, I've been Mzalendo and Asanteni Sana, and see you